Yeah, boys, they're
Very curvy.
early.
We do have a quorum, and we have a revision to the agenda.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And that Michael has to leave probably around 10:15, as I understand. And this, so on item number 6, on item number 6, facility status change items. Madam Chair, if we could move that up under the consent agenda.
That's fine. All right. So I bought a big coffee for this morning. So, but we anticipate having a great meeting. I also have a box of Kleenex just in case, you never know. But anyway, welcome to everyone, and we're happy to have you come before us today. We do have 2 public comments, and so we're going to begin with that, and I'd like to invite Becky McCarahan to come forward. I hope I said your name correctly.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Becky McCarahan. My family lives off Mission Road in Jessup, Maryland, and our daughter is currently an 11th grader at Hammond High School. I am here today in support of the CIP for Howard County construction projects, High School 13, Hammond High School renovations. Our community of neighbors have advocated strongly for the construction of the new high school to address the overcrowding in our schools and for the much-needed renovations for Hammond and Talbot Springs, which addresses additional seats for our county and much-needed overdue maintenance. Our own daughter will not be attending either, as she will have graduated, and yet there's a need for our community, and here we are. I see that High School 13 is recommended to be funding by the staff for the $23.5 million. Our community appreciates and supports your recommendation. Thank you. We are here in support of our local Board of Education. Howard County Schools recommends that Hammond and Talbot Springs be funded and back on your schedule. We appreciate all of our local and state officials are doing to make these projects happen. Please move them back to a funding status and know that we're here and we care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Carlene Penna.
Good morning. My
Good
name's
morning.
Carlene Penna. I live in Columbia, Maryland, and I thank the members of the IAC for the opportunity to present testimony. I'm here to ask for your support in funding for the Hammond High School renovation and addition and the Talbot Springs Elementary School rebuild. Hammond and Talbot Springs are very unique within the Howard County community. They are over 75% majority-minority school. Over 40% of our students at Hammond are African American, and we serve a much higher average than the county average of students receiving free and reduced meals. Our motto at Hammond is where people are important, but facilities matter too, and ours have been lacking. There are many issues within the school building that have been put off for many years and delayed, and we can't be pushed off any longer. Problems in the school continue to get worse because they're not addressed, since the renovation will take care of it, but we can't wait any longer. The systems are old and failing, and if the HVAC goes out, we're in real trouble because only a couple of the classrooms even have windows. There is a lot of information I can give you, but I only have 3 minutes, so here are the biggies. Hammond High serves the 3rd highest percentage of students receiving special ed services in Howard County high schools, but our special ed department is only 1/3 of the size that it should be. We're lacking many of the basic areas to provide help to our most vulnerable students. We are woefully behind on our ADA compliance. I have heard from many parents about the difficulties, the lack of barrier-free restrooms. And while our health room has a very nice restroom in it, are students supposed to go to the health room every time they need to relieve themselves? And what about those students involved in after-school activities? Where do they go then? Even the entrances to the school are too narrow. The thresholds are too high to easily maneuver wheelchairs. And there are safety concerns because our outside doors don't shut properly and thus don't lock. And there's also no security vestibule. There's lead in the water. There's mold everywhere. I recently learned of a Hammond student who, upon hearing of the death of Olivia Paragal, the student at the University of Maryland, began skipping school because she also suffers from Crohn's, and she was literally afraid that the mold would make her sick and that literally going to school would kill her. And then there's the mice and their droppings everywhere. Now, you might be wondering why I brought this today. I bet you think it's a bucket. It isn't. At Hammond High School, This is a sink in some of our science labs. And I'll tell you, I grew up in a very small town in West Virginia, poor coal town. Not once in my high school career was I ever told to use a sink, a bucket for a sink. And I really have a hard time with that's what my kids are being told now. We're the smallest high school in the county, but we serve one of the fastest growing areas. An addition and a renovation to Hammond is a very wise investment. The county school board, county council, county executive are all behind this project. You are the missing piece. You can make this happen. Our students and our staff deserve so much better. Please fix our schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we now have before us the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved unanimously. Let's move to section 6, which is the facility status change items, so that Michael can present to us before he needs to go. Good morning, Michael.
Thank you, and thanks for accommodating the agenda change. So we have a couple items this month, only one of which will require action. It's the transfer of the former Allegheny High School, which closed at the end of the last school year after they created and constructed the new building and opened it up. In this case, the future use is undetermined yet, although there is an MOA with the school district and county to continue the baseball fields. So that's been going on this school year so far. The original building, as some of you may know, was constructed in 1925. So
It's the oldest building in the state.
yes. So if you'd like, I can
Yes.
go ahead and read the motion. Okay. The motion is to approve the transfer of the former Allegheny High School located at 616 Sedgwick Street in Cumberland, Maryland, from the Allegheny County Board of Education to the Allegheny County Commissioners, as approved by the Board of Education on August 13, 2019, for an undetermined future use.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Move.
So moved, and
Second.
second? The secretary, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you,
Great.
Michael.
Thank you. We also have in your packet several additional informational items, most of which are, in fact, all but one are Baltimore City. These are the required updates that we get every year on their programmatic changes. There are a few name changes in there. And then there is one for Wacomico where they notified us that one of their easements was not properly documented. So there's a correction just for the record.
All right. Any questions for Michael on those changes on item 6B? All right, hearing none, thank you, Michael.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you.
your assistance on this. So, before we move on with the agenda, we have a special recognition. I'd like to recognize Joan Shafer, the Deputy Director for the IAC. Some of you may know that Joan is retiring at the end of the month, and she has over 27 years of experience, and she's been with the IAC 13 of those 27 years with the state. I want to thank her for all that she's done and for all of our students in Maryland. And you've been a tremendous help when I was chair of the IAC before we got our new director. So I'm very pleased to provide this recognition. So Joan, I know that you just recently had an accident. So I know if you want me to come to you, we can do that if that's easier to provide the recognition. But I have a governor's citation for you that I'd like to read. And we also want to make note for any members of the IAC that the IAC is hosting a little reception and gathering for Joan on the 8th floor until noon today. So if you're able to, please stop by to congratulate Joan, and I will then read the citation. This is from the Governor of the State of Maryland to Joan Shafer. Greetings. Be it known that on behalf of the citizens of this state, in recognition of the 27 years of distinguished and outstanding service you have made on behalf of the state of Maryland, in appreciation of the expertise, professionalism and commitment you have demonstrated through your distinguished career, and as the people of Maryland join together in expressing our great respect, admiration, and sincere best wishes on the occasion of your retirement, we are pleased to confer upon you this governor's citation, which is signed by the Governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, Lieutenant Governor Maurice, all the defendants of the state. So we are very pleased to present this to you. Oh, okay.
John, why don't you get in the picture?
Why don't you come in? Get everybody in here. And then we'll get one with all the staff.
1, 2, 3. Take your press away.
13.
Yeah, can we get all the staff up from the IAC, please?
And the IAC as well, please. Don't want to make her
All in the photo.
We'll get you.
I'm tall, so I can stay in the
Perfect. See, look, we're great. We need you. We got it.
Why aren't you up here?
There you go.
I know. Just don't put her foot in her leg in. Zach, get in here. What are you doing over there? For heaven's sakes.
You do. Squeeze in a little bit more.
All right. Awesome.
Yes, perfect.
One big happy family, huh?
All right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm switching up the angle, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Bear with me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good group shot, guys.
Excellent. Great. Congratulations.
Congratulations,
That was
Joe.
very kind to have us all
Thank you
here.
for everything.
Thank you. You. Whatever happens.
I don't think Madam Chair's microphone is on.
Yep, thank you. Need one more chair over. Didn't look right. Yeah,
So again-
Madam Chair, if I could, please, I just want to say to have
do.
people like Joan that give their lives, and we have a lot of them on our staff, that you don't come to work for the state for salary. There are lots of other options, particularly in this day and age. So we have people that give their life for the service of the children and the people of the state, and it's a very big deal. And thank you for all of those years.
Yeah, I think it also should be noted that Joan served as the acting executive director of the IAC for a period of time when we did not have a director, and so she was really filling many roles and assisted me in getting through those times. So it was very appreciative. We're very appreciative of her work. So thank you, Joan, and good luck to you, and certainly enjoy your retirement. Thank you. All right, so it's always nice to do some happy things. We're going to now continue to do some more happy things. First up for LEA presentations this morning is Carroll County, so I'd like to invite them to come forward, introduce themselves. You see we have the superintendent, Dr. Lockhart. Nice to see you this morning. John, nice to see you as well.
Good morning, Superintendent Sam and Executive Director Gorel. Members of the IAC, I'm Steve Lockard, Superintendent of Carroll County Public Schools. With me are John O'Neill, our Chief Operating Officer, Ray Prokop, our Director of Facilities. Also joining us are Jim Marks, our Supervisor of Construction, and Bill Kane, Facilities Planner. We appreciate the opportunity to address you this morning and especially appreciate you accommodating our schedule today. My staff did submit our written testimony in advance and attached a recent response we had sent to a letter from Director Gorel regarding our Career and Technology Center project. That response answered questions about funding of the Career and Tech project and expressed some concerns we had with the baseline funding. Today we are here specifically to appeal for additional funding for the Career and Tech project and to request funding for our Spring Garden Elementary HVAC project. The Board of Education of Carroll County appreciates the staff recommendation for a total of $5,107,019 of funding for the Carroll County Career and Technology Center project. Additionally, the Board of Education of Carroll County appreciates the staff projections for an additional $2,150,582 of new authorization funds and an additional $1,742,399 of prior year appropriations to bring the total amount of funding for the Career Tech project to $9 million. Based on the current cost estimate and draw schedule, this amount of money from the state for fiscal years 21, 22, 23, and 24 will allow this critical project to move forward. However, the Board of Education of Carroll County does have a concern that this level of funding will put all other Carroll County school projects on hold for 4 fiscal years. These projects include roof replacement projects, HVAC replacement projects, window replacement projects, and an East Middle replacement school. Carroll County suffered through the recession and post-recession years, and our state CIP request has been lean the past several years. If the state only provides enough funding for just the CTC project over the next 4 years, our buildings will continue to age and their condition will continue to deteriorate. Historically, we understood that the IAC used percentage of statewide enrollment applied to total CIP amount as the starting point for funding in years where our requests exceeded that amount. For us, that total percentage of enrollment historically would be around 3%. That methodology corresponds to historic data for our CIP allocations. The IAC has always been able to use that as a starting point, balance all statewide priorities, and meet our project-specific needs as they arose. In turn, we recognized that some years we would receive more and some years less based on our priorities at that time, but the overall context and approach served our needs. Therefore, the Board of Education of Carroll County respectfully requests that the IAC recommend additional funding beyond staff projections to provide enough funding to at least move ahead with our second priority project, which is Spring Garden Elementary HVAC replacement. This project involves the replacement of the existing 7 rooftop air handling units, the replacement of hot and cold water distribution pumps, and the replacement of the original terminal control units. The HVAC equipment is original to the 1991 construction and is currently 28 years old. The 2 gas-fired boilers and air-cooled chillers have recently been replaced and will be reused. The existing pneumatic control system will also be replaced with direct digital control using electronic actuation. Although it's not anticipated that the electrical service will require an upgrade, the existing motor control center will need to be replaced with new panel boards sized for the new HVAC equipment. The scope does not include any HVAC equipment installed as part of the 2006 kindergarten edition. The project is scheduled to be bid in the spring of 2020 with construction beginning in the summer. The state share of construction funding is needed in FY21 so that project can move forward. We once again appreciate your support of these important projects in Carroll County Public Schools and for your consideration of additional funding that's so critical for our continued progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, I'd like to welcome Caroline County, Milton Nagel, Dr. Salins, Superintendent. Oh my goodness, you brought someone else with you today. How are you, sir? It's good to see you. You all know I used to work with some of these people, so that's why we kind of have a different relationship. So it's good to see you all.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to come before you, and also thank you for accommodating my schedule because I did have an IAC meeting today. As Dr. Salmon said, we have Milton Nag, our Assistant Superintendent, with us, and we also have Chuck Petrick, who is our Supervisor of Facilities. I just want to start off by saying that Caroline is a very unique place, as Dr. Salmon knows. We're small, but we're mighty. And so we have to utilize every resource that we have within not just our school system, but within the whole county and community as a whole. Greensboro Elementary School, which we are seeking the funding for, talking about today, is the single largest capital project that Caroline County's had in 40 years. We have not built a school in 40 years, and we maintain our buildings very, very well. And so with that being said, our schools are our community, and so this project is pulled from every aspect. We have partnered with our commissioners. They have increased the income tax rate to the maximum in order to do this project. They are at their debt capacity, and so there's no opportunity for us to forward fund any part of Greensboro Elementary School. But to get into the nitty-gritties, I'm going to ask that Milton Nagel speak to those numbers for me.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, there we go. Thank you for the opportunity again. It's very, I think it's unique that Maryland has the opportunity to meet with school systems on occasions like this, and so even if we have just one project and we're not asking for the moon and the stars, it's important to say thank you, if nothing else. So the original allocation that we got from Mr. Gorell's office relative to funding for FY21 would fall woefully short in our ability to continue to move the project forward. He reached out to us in advance, and we communicated back to him and provided specific information from the county government as to their inability to forward fund the project, and we're happy to see, as a result of that, the projections through May of the IAC that would provide a funding level at $14 million for FY21, which is sufficient to cash flow the project. And in fact, in the document that you have in front of you, I've articulated the cash flow needs on the second page of the document, which is actually page 1, that says it's actually a little bit less than that. It's actually about $13.5 million. So if I know you don't probably ever hear this, but if it needs to be trimmed back a little bit because you want to use, about $500,000 to reallocate to another school system, we can handle that based on where we are at this point. So we do appreciate you listening to us and understanding the unique needs of Caroline County. As indicated in the handout, this project is monumental for the county. It's nearly half the cost, half the size of the county's operating budget. It does put them above their debt ceiling for a couple of years, and it will be our only project for a few years because the county simply has no debt capacity to go into any sort of additional project for Caroline County until this project is well completed. So we won't be paying homage or up to you folks in future years. But we are super excited about this project because it's long overdue, as some of you know, because Dr. Salmon and Mr. Gorell, you've both been there, you've seen the school, you know that it's grossly needed. And we are just very excited to get started and to have the project started and to see it through to fruition. And we know we're going to have an excellent asset for the future citizens of Caroline County for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, if I could, see if this is on, I want to again, and I have before, complimented this county on the due diligence that they have done. They have looked at this project within the context of their entire portfolio and the total cost of ownership. They saw that by reaching out and increasing their debt, which they have to the maximum, and we're still trying to understand that, but it sure looks like you have. At least it's the limit that they have set currently, and it's all that you can do to make this project happen. And I think it is worth mentioning that it's your good model about you're doing all that you can do, and then you're asking for help for what you can't do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we also want to note that we used you repeatedly as examples in the funding sub-cabinet proceedings that we had, because it was really a great opportunity to showcase what you can do, and the fact that, you know, it's a very unique thing to have a county come and say, by the way, if you need another $500,000, you can take it from us. I don't think we've ever heard that before. So I think we'll be using you again for the future in terms of good stewardship for the state as a whole. And it really was the whole idea about what we were trying to get to was total cost of ownership, trying to get people to recognize that's so important to look at the very beginning of the project, and also the fact that sometimes you give up so that other people can benefit, and so it's really a great example.
We're all in it together, and Mr. Grau, I appreciate your comments, because it was a pretty exhaustive process last year to go through the right sizing procedure that we did. That contributed to the delay in getting started, because we had to then go through the whole, final, a lot more
Right.
construction document development process. And that's contributed to our ability to push off some of the debt, the fiscal need until fiscal '22. So it's all works together. We're all in this together. I know I'll probably be chastised by some of my peers from around the state. How do you give money back? But it's not the first time. We've done it before. We did it with our county when they were in dire straits, when the state took away the road tax at mid-year, and the county had to cut. And we gave money back to our county. It's about being good stewards for the dollars, not just our dollars, it's the whole state's dollars.
right.
So,
Well, thank
and
you very much.
selfishly, we also wanted to come because we wanted to see Joan in her final
That's
days
good.
here.
Well,
So
I'm
we're
glad you're
heading
gonna-
upstairs
I'm very glad you
because she's been
can
a real asset to
participate.
the state, and we appreciate
Yes, she
all that
has.
she's done for us over the years. And so
Yeah, thank you all
appreciate
very
that.
much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Always good to see you, Chuck.
So we're on the phone. Chatter, we get this. Speaking to mute their phones.
So we do have some IAC members that are on the phone. Please make sure, folks that are on the phone, to mute your phones so that we don't have the static that's coming through. Thanks so much. All right, now if we could have Calvert County. Calvert, you are on the phone. So whoever is speaking certainly doesn't mute their phone. Let me be clear about that. So go ahead, and I'm not sure who's going to present. I assume it's Dr. Curry.
Actually, it's Executive Superintendent of Administration, Mr. Navarro, and Director of Construction, Suchita Warner. We're both on the phone.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Superintendent Salmon and members of the IAC. Thank you for this opportunity. This is Tony Navarro, Executive Director of Administration, and I'm here with Ms. Suchita Warner, Director of Construction. Calvert County Public Schools takes pride in our staff and students and has much to celebrate. Future Ready is a major focus of our system. In the past year, we have made significant investments in bandwidth and made other major upgrades to our technology infrastructure to support student use of devices in the classroom. With respect to the 2019 MSDE report card, all of Calvert's schools earned at least three stars, with 14 schools earning 4 stars and 5 schools earning 5 stars. Our graduation rate is just under 95%, which is evidence of the success of our schools. And finally, we take extreme pride in maintaining our facilities. Within the 2019 Annual State Maintenance Inspection Report, Calvert County received the highest possible score of 100% for maintenance effectiveness based on schools assessed by the state between FY 2014 and FY 2019. And now I'll turn things over to Mrs. Warner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Good morning. We appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today to discuss and review Calvert County's funding request for the FY 2021 Capital Improvement Program. There are 5 projects listed within our CIP, 1 requesting planning approval, and the remaining 4 requesting state funding. We appreciate the IAC staff's 75% recommendations, which show strong support for these projects. We also appreciate the transparency within the process through the preliminary 100% recommendations that reflect nearly full funding of our request. Today, we would like to take the opportunity to highlight the importance of these projects, not only to assure the level of support currently projected towards these projects, but also to request that you reconsider funding them fully. Of the 5 project requests, 4 are systemic renovations. As Calvert County's inventory continues to age, systemic projects become increasingly important. They are a key component to operating our buildings effectively and efficiently and aid in providing an appropriate and effective environment for student learning. Our first project request is for consideration of planning approval for the replacement of Beach Elementary School. Original construction dates to 1953, with subsequent additions in 1971, 1980, and a kindergarten addition in 2006. The existing building suffers from a variety of issues, including structural settlement, irregularly shaped classrooms resulting from a previous open space conversion project, ADA issues, and constant repair of building systems that are nearing or exceeding end of life. Based on findings presented through a feasibility study earlier this year, we have opted to move forward with replacement of the school on the existing site. Planning approval today would assist in providing sufficient time for project design, agency review, and bidding. Our second project request is for the second and final year of funding for the Patuxent High School HVAC equipment replacement project. The work associated with this project was divided over 2 summers, and we are 50% complete. The balance of the work is scheduled for summer of 2020. The total construction budget for this project is $2.78 million, with a state share of $1,473,000. Last year, state funding consisted of $957,400, and this year we respectfully request the full balance of funding in the amount of $516,000 so we may complete the project. Our third request is a replacement of the wastewater treatment plant on the Northern High Northern Middle School campus. The existing plant has been in service for nearly 50 years, more than double its 20-year lifespan. The project includes a direct replacement of the current packaged activated sludge system, additional process items, and a lab building. A total of $1.65 million is required for the project with a state share of $848,000. Our fourth request is for an HVAC equipment replacement project at Mount Harmony Elementary School. The project will include replacement of the cooling tower and HVAC equipment serving select areas of the school. The unreliable equipment that we're talking about dates back to 1961 and will be replaced by energy-efficient equipment that will operate via DVC controls. A total of $1.6 million is required for the project with a state share of $821,500. Our fifth and final request is for an HVAC equipment replacement project at Southern Middle School. During the FY 2020 CIP, Southern Middle School Controls was a priority 1 project that was partially funded by the state in the amount of $174,000. The project in its previous scope was not awarded due to the bids received being significantly over budget. With aging HVAC equipment starting to show deterioration and more frequent required repair, the scope of the project has been increased to include both the HVAC equipment as well as the associated controls. The revised scope replaces the chilled water plant, 11 air handling units, 4 rooftop units, 88 classroom VAVs, and all associated controls to DVC. The project will be phased over 2 years, starting in summer 2021, and will require a total of $6.95 million with a total state allocation of $3,577,500. Our funding request for the first year is $1,666,000. We respectfully request utilization of the $174,000 in state funds previously allocated for the controls project towards the current year funding associated with our Priority 5 project. In closing, we appreciate the support the IAC has given to Calvert County in the past. Your continued support will ensure that Calvert County can provide safe, healthy, and well-maintained facilities for our staff and students. Thank you. And now we'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Calvert County. We appreciate your information and we'll take it under consideration. Now I'd like to invite Prince George's County to come forward. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, as previously stated, good morning, members of the commission and the public school construction staff. My name is Sean Matlock. I'm the director of capital programs, and I'm here with Elizabeth Chason, who is our CIP officer, Ron Kaufman, who is one of our planners, and Shayla Taylor, who is our department supervisor. I thank you for inviting us here this morning and for giving us an opportunity to appeal the FY 2021 $28,334,000 state funding allocation for Prince George's County Public Schools, which is based on our average funding amount for the last 10 years. Please consider increasing this funding allocation based on the age and condition of our facility inventory, as well as the size of our student population and the number of students receiving free and reduced meals. We are appealing because our need is greater than our current state average. We are excited, though, that the 3 of our 5 requests have been recommended for full state construction funding, and we thank you for the opportunity to continue with these needed projects. The additional $11.297 million in ERG funding is greatly appreciated, since this is an area severely over-enrolled and a number of temporary relocation walls is extremely high. The new Glen Ridge Middle School area is a new 1,200 school slated to open in the same time as a fully funded and enlarged William Wirt replacement school. These are both middle schools. Together, both schools will increase capacity of 1,600 students and relieve severe overcrowding among the northern area middle schools. The new Cherokee Lane Elementary School replacement is a pilot replacement school which will double the size of the current school, thus relieving over-enrollment among elementary schools in the Adelphi area and the county, and eliminating the need for a new additional Adelphi area elementary school. Please consider increasing our state funding for the allocation of William Schmidt Education Center from $6,599,000 to $8,498,000, and for the Charles Flowers High School HVAC modernization project from $0 to $7 million. This high school is more than 15 years old, and the existing variable frequency drive on the majority of the HVAC equipment has failed, causing the system to run nonstop and contributing to astronomically high energy bills, which is both a drain on the operating budget and is environmentally unsustainable. We thank you for your time, for listening to our appeal, and are open for questions.
Thank you, Secretary Salmon. Just a question on the request for the increase from $0 to $7 million for Charles Flowers High School. What was the reason for the denial of that request? Can anyone?
Arabia? Could you step up to one of the mics, please?
The project was deferred due to fiscal constraints.
Meaning that the local share was not fully available to be able to match to see that project would move forward.
Meaning that the state
In the state available funding.
Yes.
As well.
In the event that the IAC were to agree to the request, where would the funds come from?
They would have to come from one of the other
Projects.
LEAs. Just as an overview, we have tried to provide an expectation from the previous past year's history, so at least the LEAs could plan on what money may be available for projects that they bring forward in their own priority. So there were other projects at Prince George's that were a higher priority that ate up those dollars that we would allocate if we stuck to this current framework. Then we adjust that framework based upon particular needs. Greensboro was one that could not go any further for that school. So that meant we had to carve a little bit off of everybody, which has been the way that we have always done it. But we're trying to be more transparent about who's getting carved and why by stating what those estimated dollars based on the previous 10 years. There is not enough funding to be able to do all of the requests.
But we're greatly hopeful that some of the legislation might pass, and if that happens in the next session, we will be able to fund many more things.
I just would like to point out one thing, and I know we have a 10-year average that's been cited for the basis of the money that we've been receiving, and we appreciate, let me just say this, we appreciate everything that the IAC and the state does on behalf of Prince George's County. But we are about 1 in 7 school buildings in the state are in Prince George's County. And we're trying to keep up with all these buildings, which we're having increased population. We went up to 136,000 students this past year. So we're growing in population, so these schools are even more needed than they were before. So we recognize the historical average. We just would like to advocate that maybe in the future, maybe not even this year, because I know there are restraints, and we respect that. And we don't want to hurt anybody else, but we would like in the future for there to be some consideration for the fact that we are growing and that we are desperately trying to keep up with our current inventory.
Madam Chair, I would like to affirm, looking at the average age of square foot, which is really the only metric that we have, that even it has some questions on its accuracy, the way that we don't include dollars of improvement on building systems. Whenever we're looking at that. But looking at that alone, they have some of the oldest facilities in the state, and they have growth. So as a snapshot from a facilities perspective, they have one of the toughest problems in the state. Whenever we have an assessment, we will be able to look realistically or more pragmatically at facility condition of all your systems, and then be able to judge that more exactly to do that comparison. The trouble is, as Dick has brought up, we're having to juggle off of all the other needs, and right now it's a matter of perspective. As you look at your perspective, you can't look through the eyes of everybody else, because you've heard previously they feel also that they have needs that are greater than yours and anybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Prince George's County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have another teleconference with Cecil County.
Good morning, Dr. Salmon.
Good morning. How are you, Jeff? Dr. Lawson is the superintendent in Cecil County.
Dr. Lawson is unable to join us this morning.
Thank
he
you.
is out of county. I have with me this morning Chuck Sempers, who is our supervisor for school construction, and Mr. Willits, our executive director for support services, is home ill today, so he will not be joining us. I just want to make sure everyone can hear us okay?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you and the Interagency Committee for Public School Construction for allowing us to call in this morning. And on behalf of the Board of Education of Cecil County, we submit these comments in support of our FY 2021 Capital Improvement Plan. We appreciate your continued efforts to make public school construction funds available to those jurisdictions with the most pressing needs. The following projects will be submitted for your review and approval, and we'd like to make a request for each one individually as our county continues to struggle with high priority needs and an ever-increasing deferred maintenance list. Number one for us is our Chesapeake City Elementary School replacement project. As you're aware, Chesapeake City Elementary School has broken ground this past summer, and construction is progressing on schedule. Our funding request of $3,283,000 is our second year out of 3 for construction funds. While we are thankful for the initial partial funding of $3,266,000, we are respectfully requesting that the recommended additional $17,000 of the FY21 CIP submission. This will allow our county to fully contribute and fund their portion of this project. So we are respectfully requesting the additional $17,000 of the FY21 CIP to continue the construction project at Chesapeake City Elementary School. Our second project is the Cecil Manor Elementary School HVAC replacement. The current HVAC system at Cecil Manor Elementary School is from 1995 when the building was renovated. Funding is requested for a complete new system to replace boilers, pumps, and boiler room controls, as well as replace utility-wide pneumatic controls, replace terminal HVAC equipment, including RTUs, MAUs, unit heaters, unit ventilators, fan coil units, VAV boxes, and exhaust fans. Replace classroom unit ventilators and supply all associated ductwork. Replace air-cooled chiller with cooled split system chiller, as well as replacing the domestic hot water heater with new commercial gas-fired water heater. We respectfully request that you approve the state share of funding in the amount of $1,597,000 so this project can proceed. Next is our boiler replacement at Leeds Elementary School. Leeds Elementary School is heated by the original 1968 boiler system. The boiler is original to the building over 50 years and well past its useful life. We would like to replace the boiler with a new high-efficiency boiler system, as well as a new domestic hot water system and generator. We'd like to proceed with this replacement, which will reduce the overall deferred maintenance for our county. We respectfully request that you approve the state share of funding in the amount of $350,000 so this project can proceed. Bohemian Manor Middle School and High School chiller replacement project, we are continuing to tackle ongoing deferred maintenance issues with this third systemic renovation request. The scope of work is to replace both the existing aged 1994, 25 years old, chiller and cooling tower with a new split system air-cooled chiller system. We provided an itemized cost breakdown with the initial submission, as well as answered the one and only question contained in the issues letter dated November 6, 2019. We know of no outstanding issues or questions needed for this project's approval at this time. So we are respectfully requesting that you upgrade the approval status from its current C level to an A status and recommend the state share of funding in the amount of $333,000, allowing us to complete this much-needed systemic renovation project. Our final project is the Northeast Middle School Replacement School. The Board of Education of Cecil County approved an educational specification in August 2019. We submitted the ed spec shortly thereafter, and we currently await comments from the review on any additional required information. We have hired a design team to investigate and create a feasibility study for this replacement project. We anticipate submitting the study to you for review and approval in February 2020. We are also currently in negotiations with Cecil County government to purchase a piece of property directly adjacent to the existing Northeast High School to potentially construct a new school. A submission, along with all documentation, will go through the clearinghouse approval process starting in January 2020. We recognize these are required elements to determine planning approval. However, we respectfully request that you recommend local planning approval for the replacement of Northeast Middle School, which was originally constructed in 1932. In conclusion, we wish to recognize the significant commitment on the part of the state of Maryland, Cecil County Council, and Board of Education of Cecil County to improving our school facilities. Both the county and state should be commended for this financial commitment, especially in light of competing fiscal needs. We find ourselves, however, in the unfortunate position of being a low-wealth county with aging buildings and newly mandated programs. Our long-term strategic goal for the capital improvement plan is to decrease the total amount of deferred maintenance across our county while improving the instructional environment for our students and staff. The 30-plus superior ratings on state inspections that we have received over the last 10 years proves that we are excellent stewards of tax dollars and remain a good investment for our state. We thank you for providing us this opportunity to address school facility improvement needs in Cecil County, and we hope you will give full consideration to these comments in your very difficult deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Cecil County.
Are there any questions for us?
Not at this time, thank you. Maryland School for the Blind has not arrived yet, so we are going to move on to Montgomery County. It's nice to see you, Dr. Johnson.
So good morning to everyone. My name is Henry Johnson. I serve as the Chief of Staff of Schools in Montgomery County, and I'm here on behalf of Dr. Jack Smith, our Superintendent. So good morning to Dr. Salmon, members of the Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this morning our recommendations on state funding for Montgomery County Public Schools fiscal year 2021, which is our capital budget request. I have here with me today Mr. Seth Adams, who's our Director in the Department of Facilities Management, and Ms. Adrienne Karamijas, who is the Director of Capital Planning in the Department of Facilities Management. So you have copies of our testimony before you and supporting documentation, so I'm not going to take the time to read it. However, I would like to make a few points regarding our appeal. Our state aid request is $110.4 million. The IAC recommendation is to fund $45.29 million of this request. We therefore are appealing $64.27 million that was not recommended for state funding by the IAC staff. The appeal includes planning approval for 7 projects and construction funding for 7 projects and construction funding for 4 projects. 4 of the projects we are appealing are priorities 1, 14, 18, 19, 24, 25, and they were not recommended for full funding by the staff. These projects include revitalization and expansions at Tacoma Middle and Rock Terrace School, Krista McAuliffe Elementary School, a 10-room classroom addition, Tacoma Park Middle School, which is a request for a 16-classroom addition project, anticipated to be completed in September 2021, and Walt Whitman High School, which is an 18-classroom addition and project anticipated to be completed in September of 2021. In addition, there are also 7 projects included in priorities 16 through 37 that have been forward funded by Montgomery County to address the overutilization and aging infrastructure needs of these schools. You have that information, so I'm not going to list those schools specifically. These 11 projects approximately will provide 249 classrooms or nearly 5,700 seats to address the overutilization in schools throughout the county. With that being said, it is important to note that Montgomery County continues to experience another year of significant enrollment growth. For the 2019-2020 school year, the official September 30th, 2019 enrollment is 165,267 students, a one-year increase of 2,587 students. Thus the reason for our request. Most of this enrollment growth is attributed to our international student enrollment that not only has an impact on our capital budget, but also has an impact on our operating budget. And since 2009 and 10, the enrollment has increased by 23,000, over 23,000, almost 23,500 students. And we anticipate a total enrollment in Montgomery County by the year 25-26 to increase by 6,052 students to reach a total of 171,319 students. This is a remarkable amount of growth for any school system to accommodate. The chart on page 2 of our testimony displays the official September 30th, 2019 enrollment for this year and the previous 5 years. So you can see from FY 2015 to 2019, you will see where that growth has increased in our county. Montgomery County continues to provide substantial financial support. However, even with this commitment, it is not enough. In order for us to meet our obligations to our students, we depend on our strong partnership with the state to provide its share of our school construction program. Our superintendent of schools, along with the Board of Education and our Montgomery County officials and our state delegation, will continue to work together to advocate for an increase in state construction funding to enable Montgomery County to receive its fair share of the statewide allocation in our capital projects. Should also be noted that MCPS students comprise approximately 18% of the state's total student enrollment. And as illustrated in the chart that you have before you in our testimony, we believe our share of state school construction funding should be on par with our share of the state's students. Without additional funding, the school system will continue to operate in a constant state of catch-up and remain far behind in providing adequate classrooms for our burgeoning enrollment. We urge the state to increase the overall school construction funding and provide the aid required to address the long-standing capacity needs and program requirements we have presented as part of our budget request supporting documentation and appeal information. Again, as always, we thank you for the opportunity to appear before you, and we thank you for your continued present and past support. We stand ready to address any of your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. We appreciate your summary.
Thank you.
And it certainly is notable, the increasing growth in Montgomery County and the need for additional classrooms. So we'll certainly take that under consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we have Maryland School for the Blind. Rob, would you come forward, please? Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Salmon and everyone. Thank you very much for this time with you. So on behalf of the School for the Blind, our families and alumni and staff, we want to express our sincere appreciation for the wonderful commitment of resources to help us to make our school buildings much more accessible and appropriate for some of the most vulnerable students across the state of Maryland. MSB serves 1,169 students from every jurisdiction in the state, including 226 students on campus in our on-campus programs. I'm appealing to you today for the remaining approximately $2 million for funding, for the remaining funding for the Newcomer, Case, and Campbell construction project, which was $8.2 million for FY21. As the oldest and largest structure, this building houses a number of our academic classrooms, as well as the library, the kitchen and the dining rooms, and job training and transition training areas in our school. And the reason why we are asking for all of this money now is that we will be done with construction by December a year from now. And we will have to pay for this out of our endowment, which we're very fortunate that we have an endowment. However, it is our only source of extra revenue. We don't have the ability to create local taxes in order to increase money for construction projects. So our endowment is used for specialized projects, for equipment and for technology that we don't necessarily have the funding for from our regular revenue resources. So we anticipate that in our budget projection this year that we are going to be drawing approximately $8 million from our endowment, and the following year, the year of this amount, approximately $6 million in our budget forecasting. So the impact on our endowment can't be understated as a vital resource for us. And so we humbly and ask that we be funded for the remaining amount for this construction so that we can continue to preserve our resources and meet the students' needs for years to come at the Maryland School for the Blind. Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
How much is your endowment?
We have approximately $44 million in our current holdings.
Big hunk you're taking out, $6 million.
That's what the projection is saying.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite Anne Arundel County, Dr. Arlotto and team to come forward. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Dr. Salmon, members of the commission. I'm George Rolado, the superintendent of Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and I'm glad to be here this morning with members of my team to talk with you about our fiscal year 2021 capital improvement program. I'd like to begin by thanking the commission for the continued support that Anne Arundel County has received. I would also like to thank the IAC staff for recommending approval of our FY 2021 requests that have been moved forward for your consideration. Every funding request continually provides us with the capability to extend the useful life of our school facilities, address rapid enrollment growth, reduce the ever-increasing backlog of projects, and provide safe and educationally effective environments. As a county, we have demonstrated our commitment to our CIP and continue to identify ways to fund and improve it. We, along with our valued partners in local government, have developed and continue to implement practices such as generating additional county funds by extending the local bond duration for public school construction projects from 20 to 30 years, undertaking detailed feasibility studies on each major project to ensure that the renovation versus replacement decision point is fully vetted, routinely using prototype designs for replacement schools, configuring renovations to maximize the use of existing footprint, and utilizing sound life cycle costing, value engineering techniques, and proven project delivery methods to drive decision-making and ensure that the public receives efficient and fiscally sustainable buildings. We continue to use a systemic approach to our capital budget requests and CIP. With our independently produced and externally validated Strategic Facilities Master Plan, our Educational Facilities Master Plan, and the Comprehensive Maintenance Plan, we have devised a prioritized operational plan that closely integrates our capital improvements and maintenance activities. This methodology affords us the opportunities to address the need for safe and secure schools, to advance our educational mission, goals, and programs, while allowing us to balance the resources that we have available. We are dedicated to the strategic implementation of this solid plan, and in order to keep our CIP well-balanced and functioning, we are requesting your continued support and funding approval of the following projects. Our first appeal is for additional third-year construction funding for Crofton High School. Crofton High School project was approved for local planning authority and bid in FY 2018. The project is on schedule to receive the new Crofton High School Cardinal students for the 2020-2021 school year. Next, we are requesting funding approval for the HVAC, fire safety, and electrical systemic project at North County High School. The HVAC, fire safety, and electrical systems are critical to the support and delivery of education. Being a high-priority deficiency project, we commissioned an engineering consultant to do a feasibility study in 2018 that was submitted as part of our justification for this project. We will replace the current HVAC system with a highly efficient one and also replace the fire alarm system, which is no longer being manufactured or supported. This project is shovel-ready, and final IAC submission documents have been submitted for approval. Our systemic projects are the backbone of our CIP. The state's ongoing support of these critical projects allow us to effectively utilize our resources and efficiently extend the useful life of our facilities. We are requesting local planning and construction funding approval for kindergarten and pre-kindergarten additions at Sunset and Van Bocklin Elementary Schools. These additions will provide appropriately sized early childhood classrooms with restrooms. Sunset Elementary has had full-day kindergarten since the 2005-2006 school year, and Van Bocklin Elementary has had full-day kindergarten and pre-kindergarten since 2003 and 2004. Our next appeal is for local planning approval at 3 elementary schools. Quarterfield Elementary, completed in 1969, has not had a major renovation or substantive systemic renovation and lies within the BWI Airport zoning district. Hillsmere Elementary was completed over 52 years ago and has not had a major renovation or large systemic renovation. Rippling Woods Elementary, built in 1974, is an open space school that has had no major renovations and lies within the BWI Airport zoning district. All 3 schools have reached the reasonable life expectancy. Therefore, we are requesting a replacement for each. The feasibility studies for all 3 elementary schools have been submitted for presentation to the IAC designees. A final request is for local planning for the new Old Mill West High School. This school is part of the Old Mill Complex Master Planning Study that was completed in 2016 and was included as a high-priority school development project in our 2015 Strategic Facilities Master Plan. The school will contain a regional special education program that will accommodate 80 students, bringing the proposed enrollment to 1,882. A site review was recently completed with a representative from the Maryland Department of Planning. Schematic design documents and letters of support have also been submitted for review and approval. On behalf of our 85,000 students, their parents, our employees, the Board of Education of Anne Arundel County, and the community we serve, I thank you for the opportunity to discuss our FY 2021 capital improvement program and how it supports Anne Arundel County and the state of Maryland. My staff and I would be pleased to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arlotto.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to invite Baltimore County to come up, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Superintendent Salmon, Secretaries Churchill and McCord, and committee members. My name is Kevin Smith, and on behalf of our superintendent, Dr. Darrell Williams, I would like to greet you and welcome you and thank you for the opportunity to present our justification for our capital plan thus far. Dr. Williams and this team is fully supportive of the request, and thank you for the $24.4 million in funds already committed and recommended by the committee for school construction for the FY 2021 school year. And to explain why additional funds are needed, Baltimore County has undertaken the largest 10-year construction program in Baltimore County's history. The $1.3 billion Schools for Our Future program is upgrading and improving modern learning spaces for our children and our teachers. The focus of the capital improvement plan is to continue to center on 4 main areas. Our first priority is the completion of air conditioning program for all of our schools. In 2010, 90 of our schools in Baltimore County lack air conditioning. In 2019, Baltimore County was awarded $13.5 million from the Healthy Schools Facilities Fund, which combined with a local match of funds will allow us to install air conditioning at Delaney and Lansdowne High Schools, Catonsville Alternative Center, Campfair Early Learning Center, and Bedford Elementary, and provide air conditioning in some of our non-air conditioned classrooms at Western School of Technology and Eastern Technical High School. With these projects finished, all Baltimore County public schools board-owned buildings will be air conditioned. The second priority of the capital program is to focus on accommodating a growing population. Over the last decade, student enrollment has increased by 10,707 students. Enrollment is projected to increase from 115,038 to over 119,000 by 2025. It is important to note that the 22 projects in priority order in this year's BCPS state capital request will add more than 7,540 seats, new seats that will help to relieve capacity pressures all over the county. Our third, and certainly no least important priority, is to continue our ongoing program to modernize our high schools through either limited renovations or replacement schools. Our current request includes 3 new replacement high school projects for Delaney, Towson, and Lansdowne High Schools. Our fourth priority is the advancements of BCPS's systemic program to replace aging roofs, boilers, chillers, windows, doors, and other essential building systems that are reflected in the priority projects number 23 through 33 in our request. Unfunded projects of the highest priority include the new Northeast Area Elementary School at Ridge Road, the 2 replacement elementary schools requested at Bedford and Summit Park, and the new Northeast Area Middle School. We would also request for your consideration of including the funding for the 11 roof, boiler, and chiller replacement projects, which are critical to our aggressive capital maintenance program. We provide additional information for your review of this specific projects, and we're here now to answer any questions you may have. And thank you for all the support that you have provided to Team BCPS over the last few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here today.
Got it.
Thank you. Sam,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I apologize, but I have another commitment I have to leave.
Okay, thank you. So Frederick County, please come forward.
Good morning. Can you hear us?
Oh, yes, good morning, Dr. Albin.
Good morning. And I'm impressed, Dr. Salmon, that you recognize my voice.
Absolutely.
I'm Terry Albin, the Superintendent of Frederick County Public Schools. I am joined today by our County Executive, Jan Gardner, Chief Operating Officer, Paul Lebo. We truly appreciate you accommodating our presentation to you via conference call. That really helped with scheduling today for the 3 of us, so thank you so much for that.
Very welcome.
We have provided testimony to you, and basically I just want to say thank you for all of the funding that the IAC has already allocated and considered. I think you can see that we have that wonderful dilemma of growing rapidly. Our county executive has made this a great place to live and work, and our school system, I believe, contributes to that, but we are growing by over 1,000 students a year, which you can think of that as 2 elementary schools, or you can think of that as a middle school. But this rapid growth is something we are working hard to address, and then couple that with the needs of aging facilities. And so in our request, we thank you for what you have done. We appreciate taking care of the funding that supports our county, because they have been very generous in doing some forward funding so that we can keep projects moving forward quickly to accommodate the capacity that we need. And so continuing to do that is vitally important to us, so that the lady sitting next to me can continue to help us keep moving forward on the projects that we need. I'm going to let her speak next, and then we're happy to address any questions that you have.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jan Gardner, and I'm here with Dr. Albin today to show the county's support for Frederick County Public Schools school construction request and to support their priority order. We do have a very good working relationship in Frederick County between the county government and our Board of Education, and I think we're very proud of that. We are looking to try to accelerate school construction in Frederick County and advance projects as quickly as possible, particularly to address severe overcrowding. And of course, we try to balance that with our need to maintain our schools and to update and renovate some of our older buildings as well. As Dr. Albin mentioned, we did have almost 1,100 new students enrolled in our school system this year, and that is the equivalent of 2 elementary schools. And so we really need to make sure that we can keep pace with that enrollment growth, which we expect to continue. We currently have 8 schools that are over 125% of state-rated capacity, so I put those into the category of being severely overcrowded. 3 schools actually saw pretty significant enrollment growth of over 100 students in 1 year, so I am concerned about the pace of that enrollment growth and our ability to keep up with it. We have been trying to address school overcrowding for a lot of years, but I think it is a bit unique that we have as many schools as we do that are in that severe overcrowding category. Now, I think Frederick County has done our part. During my first term, we spent about $300 million locally on school construction, really doubling what we had spent the prior 4 years. And we are right now advancing a addition to a middle school entirely with local dollars. And we've been good stewards of our taxpayers' money, and we really do try to keep our costs down as we build projects, and I think we've demonstrated that over the years. So I do have 3 requests. First, I seek support for the Board of Education's priority order request that they've submitted. I also want to ask for planning approval for a modernized and expanded Brunswick Elementary School. The county really, I would like to try to advance that project in our capital improvement program. It is currently at 143% of state-rated capacity, and of course we expect that to continue. It's one of those schools from the back in the day where we had open floor plans, so it presents certain challenges, and it is a 68-year-old school. So we would really like to get planning approval, so that would allow the county to move forward with that project to forward fund the state share. Also, if there is additional dollars that can be available this year, we would request, I would request that we increase the amount of state funding for Blue Heron Elementary, Rock Creek, and Waverly Elementary School. The faster those projects are paid back from the state, the greater ability we have to forward fund the next projects that are in the queue, whether those are new seats or modernizations. So I appreciate that you have a tough job to do, that you have many competing needs across the state. But I do think in Frederick County, we're very proud that we responsibly manage projects, that we meet our timelines, that we use proven prototype designs, and that we do forward fund state share to keep our projects moving forward. So thank you for your consideration, and thank you for supporting Frederick County Public Schools request.
And I did also want to add, as County Executive Gardner shared, we are putting an addition on a middle school using only local dollars. The other thing with the Oakdale Middle School project is that we continuously, even though we have a really good track record in what we do with our construction funding and how we manage it, we're going to use a modified design build method with that school. And again, we're always willing to look for what are the ways we can be most efficient with these dollars and yet still achieve quality products. And so that's another thing that I am very proud of the members of our construction team for looking at and always trying to stay on the cutting edge in how we approach our projects.
Thank you, Dr. Albin and Ms. Gardner. And again, I want to thank Ms. Gardner for being a very active participant on our cabinet or subcommittee for the funding and assessment, and look forward to working with you in the future on that. And also thank Frederick County for being very good stewards of the state money. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Salmon.
Do you have any questions for us?
Not at this time, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I hope you continue to stay ahead of schedule and find some time today.
All right, thank you very much. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, St. Mary's County, please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Kim Howell, and I am the Director of Capital Planning. I do send regrets from our Superintendent, Dr. Smith. He is unfortunately unable to attend with us this morning due to a prior commitment. We would like to take this opportunity to thank the IAC and the members of the staff for the support we've had over the past several years. Since the 1990s, we were able to modernize the bulk of our facilities and add capacity as we needed. Where we find ourselves today is those projects that were in the 1990s are coming due for roof and HVAC systemic projects. And what we have done is we have structured our plan so that we have 2 projects every year. That estimate is right around $5.3, $5.4 million annually. One of the things that we would like to address is it's our understanding that the annual allocation, that 10-year average we talk about, is based on new money and not the total amount. So when we look at that, that is why we have been structuring at the 5.3 to 5.4 million per year, based on what our need is, and keeping those projects moving forward with a 2-year cash flow. When we look at what we've experienced in St. Mary's County, we do have a regional cost escalator that's associated with our projects due to the lack of contractors in our own community or in the Tri-County community that can do this work. So we do pay a higher than normal regional cost. We experienced that most recently with our Park Hall and Hollywood projects, which were systemics, which came in over budget, and our commissioners and the state rose to the challenge and helped us to be able to move those projects forward. Our appeal today is we appreciate the full funding of the Green Holly project, which is getting ready to go. On the Dinard project, we are respectfully requesting the increase of that funding. The $923,000 that is slated for us to receive at the 100% mark is much needed to ensure that we can keep these projects on track. What we don't want to do is defer this money or the rest of the money on this project to next year, which would then cause us to be over our threshold yet again and would result in us going down to 1 project per year based on cash flow. We really do need to move 2 projects forward every year. When we talk about the funding, one of the concerns we have is we're not slated to get money again until the 100% mark, which is in May. That really does make it very difficult on us to be able to forecast whether we're going to have the funding or not to keep that project on track. So we would request if there's any availability of funding prior to that, that we would receive that at the 90% recommendation as well. When we look at these systemic projects, they are going to be the bulk of our requests for the next 6 years. We do appreciate all of the work that is going into it and the importance that is being placed on improving our infrastructure. I'm not going to go into the details of the project. You have our project sheets. You have our appeal request. So we do hopefully request that you can fund the $923,000 that is remaining on Dinard's allocation prior to the 100% recommendation. We can take any questions that you have at this time, and thank you again for all of the support that comes to St. Mary's County students and staff.
Thank you. Just want to note that I enjoyed my recent visit to that elementary school, so appreciate the fact that I got to see the school, and it was an incredible visit, so thank you, St. Mary's County.
And thank you for coming to visit.
All right, I don't see any questions, so we thank you for your call-in today. Now we're going to move to Harford County. Dr. Bolston is here. With his team. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Sean Bolson, Superintendent of Harford County Public Schools. I am here with Chris Morton, our Supervisor of Facilities Management, Missy Valentino, our Facilities Planner, and I have 2 others. Patty Jo Beard is our Executive Director of Facilities Management, and Cornell Brown is here, our Assistant Superintendent for Operations. We'd like to just take a moment to thank the group for the collaborative efforts on behalf of our construction projects, particularly Mr. Gorell and his staff. And we are in a position after years of sort of flat and decreasing enrollment, for the last 3 years we've seen increases. And so we're beginning to see a little pressure back on some of our buildings. But also, I think our greater concern with regard to our capital projects is ensuring we stay on a sustainable schedule. And that's really at the center point of our comments today. So I'll turn it at this point over to Missy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I believe you have a copy of our testimony with some of the details for our project, so I won't go into each specific one. We do have 3 requests this year. The 2nd year of funding for the Hickory Elementary School roof replacement, the 1st year of funding for our Joppatown High School limited renovation, and the roof replacement at Bel Air Middle School. We would like to start by thanking the IAC and staff for the recommendation to fully fund the remaining portion of the Hickory roof replacement project, as well as the 1st year of funding for the Joppatown High School limited renovation projects. Both projects are currently in the design phase and are on schedule to begin construction in June of 2020. We're also grateful for recommendations to partially fund our roof replacement at Bel Air Middle School. However, we are here today to appeal to the IAC to fully fund the Bel Air Middle School roof replacement project. It is Harford County Public Schools' goal to complete one roof replacement project every year. We have 54 now, going down to 53 with the completion of the Havre de Grace Middle High School roofs, and replacing one roof a year in addition to our county government's commitment to one major project at a time. Usually that's over a 2-year period. We are on a replacement cycle of one roof every 36 years. With most schools having a typical roof life expectancy of 20 years, we are managing a roofing program with roofing systems that will reach a life expectancy of 180% at this point. Bel Air Middle School is our most critical roof needed, only second to Hickory Elementary, which is currently underway. This roof project has been deferred for multiple years. We have another project on the campus that is planned at adding the John Archer School, which is our special education school, to the campus. And the goal was to move forward with that roof replacement project while we are on site to kind of gain some efficiencies in the project. The funds are to request it to replace the 170,000 square foot built-up roof with a 20-year NDL warranty. While the IAC's recommendation to partially fund this roof project will allow us to move forward in the design and planning phase, the fact is that it'll spread the request over 2 years. I'm kind of going to go back a few years real quick to explain how this impacts us moving forward. In 2019, we requested a roof replacement project at Aberdeen Middle School. That school had severe leakage. They actually had to close the school for a day because there was some issues that they had to clean up within the school after a snow event. We did eventually receive funding in 2020 for that roof replacement project. However, when that project went out to bid, the cost for that project increased by 30% in 1 year. This resulted in the IAC's recommending to partially fund our next major project, which was the Hickory roof replacement project, which pushed our need to this year. So we are requesting the remainder of the funding for that project to move forward this year. Pushing that replacement project has led us to now pushing partial funding for the Bel Air Middle School roof replacement project out to next year. Based on this trend and our upcoming needs for next year, we will only be able to request or be funded for, based on our recent funding trends, the second half of the Jopletown High School limited renovation project and the second half of the roof replacement project for Bel Air Middle School. This slows our track down for roof replacements. So instead of being on a 36-year, 180% life of a roof, we are now pushing that out and extending that. Additionally, we will not be able to address any other systemic issues, HVAC and things like that, within our school by pushing this out because we will not have the state support for that money. So as funding trends decrease or remain relatively flat and the construction costs are increasing, we are falling further behind in meeting the systemic needs of our facilities. So we are requesting the full amount of state funding in the amount of $4,284,000 to proceed with this roof replacement project. This concludes our appeal, and we are here to have any questions. Thank you for your time this morning.
Just want to make note that we have been hearing about roof costs. We just had a conversation about it at our last meeting with the committee, and it's the amount of increase is staggering. And I know Director Gorell had some thoughts about it. Do you want to share any of that at this point?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. Yes, we We certainly have advised what we have learned as best practice amongst all the LEAs. You're one of them that have gone and looked for other ways to procure the roofs because the cost of labor in construction continues to grow rapidly. And whenever we put on our 4-ply roofs that are our customary and favored roof, they become astronomically expensive, and we've had to go to single-ply TPO roofs that perform pretty darn well. We don't have several hundred years of track record on them, though, so there's a little risk in order to do that. I would also like to mention that overall you're hearing roofs a lot. Roofs are a direct result of, and the cost to maintain them is a direct result of how many square feet that you have. It's one of them that you can make almost a one-to-one correlation on what it's going to cost. And whenever roofs fail, the three things we have to have for learning, that absolutely have to have, are warm, safe, and dry. Roofs are the dry part. We've also heard a lot about the HVAC, the heating and cooling, through the years. So this is a reflection of the size of our portfolio and the available dollars in order to maintain the current statewide portfolio. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So thank you. We certainly understand your dilemma. Secretary McCord?
Just a simple question. When I attended, it was Bel Air High School building 2, but the Bel Air Middle School building, how old is the building itself?
I wanna say-
80s.
Yeah, early 80s, late 70s.
Or late 70s.
Yeah, I don't have the date right now, I'm sorry.
And that's the age of school that you're dealing with in your replacement scheme.
Yes.
Yeah, you do have some very aged schools in Harford County, since some of them are standing since I was there as a student, and we won't even talk about how long ago that was.
But very well maintained.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other counties present? I know we're running early on the schedule, so just to check to see if anyone else is here. Speaking directly about Charles or Howard, Baltimore City or Kent. Howard is en route. Okay, well, hearing no one pop up, we're going to then go to a separate part on the agenda, and then we'll come back to the appeal process. So we're going to go to the Section 5, which is page 58 in your books, the Baltimore County Fiscal Year 2018 Hvac project approval, and that's Shantia who will come and talk to us about that. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. The item that I'll be presenting is on Section 5 on page 58 of your books. And the request is to approve a project at Dundalk Middle School under the Hvac program. As you may recall, the Hvac program still has remaining funds, although the program was not reauthorized by Congress. Baltimore County has requested $94,000 of the remaining $115,400 to replace the lockers. The project has been reviewed by IAC staff and designees and has been determined to be eligible under the guidelines of the Hvac program. And if you don't have any questions, I will read the motion.
All right, go ahead with the motion.
Okay. To approve an allocation for the FY 2018 Hvac locker replacement project in Baltimore County at Dundalk Middle School, PSC number 0304118QC.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. And now we'll move to item 7 with Jamie doing status report for Baltimore City. And that is in section 7 and pages 62 and 63. This is not an item for approval. It is just information, as we've been doing every month for quite a long time. So thank you, Jamie.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. As you said, I am here to deliver item 7, informational item, a status report on the extra $15 million for HVAC for Baltimore City projects. And then I will stand for questions following. Just a quick project status update. As of December the 3rd, there are 5 projects that are now operational. That's 26%. 1 is currently under construction, 9 in construction procurement, 4 are in design, and none are left in design procurement. In fact, 4 just went out for bid for construction procurement, so they're moving right along on that. Moving on to project health, and I have made some revisions to the spreadsheet tracker per the Commission's advice last month to try to show some trends on the health of the projects. And you will note that there is a lighter dot in some places, and that represents where the project was last month. So as of December 3rd, again, there are 12 are operational or not behind. That's 63%. 2 are behind less than a month. 4 are behind less than 2 months, and there's 1 behind more than 2 months. And so if I will, I'll just briefly touch on the exception report. I first should note that the boiler replacement at Falstaff, not the unit vent replacement at Callaway, has fallen behind further in procurement as noted on the sheet, so that is a mistake. The Falstaff is the one that fell behind. I'll note about that project. It has fallen further behind because a second contractor was requested. They needed another proposal. And however, the construction is expected to start after heating season and finish on time as float had been planned for in the overall project schedule. Moving ahead, boiler replacement at Harlem Park Building also has fallen a little behind. And again, construction is expected to start after heating season and be completed on time. The building automation upgrade at Hvac Elementary Middle, while behind more than 2 months, as we discussed last meeting, due to some issues securing IP addresses for the facility and coordination with the RIT department, that has been completed, and the construction should be complete, and that project should be operational this month. Chiller at Windsor Hills Elementary also has fallen further behind, and again, construction is expected to be completed on time, in time for cooling season. I'll note contract health. As of December 3rd, the IAC had approved $1.3 million and change in contracts, or about 9% of the $14 million plus allocated to the 19 extra $15 million for HVAC projects. That does not include the contracts that were approved this morning. As of now, there would be about $2.75 million of approved contracts, and that represents about 18.8% of the $14 million. We do expect to see more contracts soon. We are aware that City Schools has found themselves a pretty solid contracts professional to help on the making sure that things come over here and get processed. So we're looking forward to that. And I'll just note that overall, this is of these 19 projects, most of which were approved in February. So I'll just note that this is a process that's been moving along pretty quickly. And if there are any questions, I'm here for those.
Just a comment. Thank you, Jamie.
Sure, no sweat.
That's it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're now going to go to section 4, which is on page 54 for the CIP amendment requests, and Shantia is going to come back and present those to us.
Hello again. The items that I will be presenting to you today are to amend projects approved in previous CIP cycles. The first item before you is an HVAC project cancellation at Southern Middle School in Calvert County. Due to a significant change in the project scope, IAC staff, in conjunction with the LEA, is recommending that the funding be canceled for the HVAC project approved in the FY20 CIP and transfer the funding to the LEA's prior year appropriation account. The LEA has submitted this project in the current FY21 CIP, and the plan is to apply those funds to this HVAC project. At this time, if there are no questions, I will read the motion.
Any questions for Shantia? All right, go ahead with the motion.
To approve the cancellation of Calvert County Public Schools FY 2020 CIP HVAC project at Southern Middle School, PSC 04009, and the transfer of $173,604 to the statewide reserved appropriation account for Calvert County Public Schools.
We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to B.
The second item is a request from Frederick County to amend the FY 2019 CIP. IAC staff received an email from the LEA stating that bids for the two FY 2019 roof projects at Valley Elementary and Thurmont Middle came in higher than expected. The LEA then modified the scope from a 4-ply built-up roof system to a single-ply TPO and rebid the project. The bids again came in higher than the LEA's budget. Therefore, they would like to cancel the funding for the roof project at Valley Elementary, transfer those funds in the amount of $242,000 to their prior year appropriations account, and then apply the funding to the roof project at Thurmont Middle. I would like to mention that this is the first instance in which an LEA is requesting to utilize the new change in COMAR that the IAC approved on October 10, 2019, which states that the IAC may increase the maximum state construction allocation for a systemic renovation project when the LEA has sufficient reserve funds available. The intent of the change was to allow LEAs with justifiable cost increases to use funding already reserved for their LEA to make projects whole, rather than requiring them to rescind and reapply for the project or pick up an additional share of the project at local cost. And if there aren't any questions, I will read the motion.
I just want to, that's the fruit of the labor sometimes, that you see how these regulations play out and produce positive results. I know.
And Madam Chair, it does require a lot of due diligence, both on the part of the county, the LEA, and us, because we go back and forth. This is one where we had to switch the roofing system. We have to look to see, did they go out, get the most competitive bidding? We have to dot our I's and cross our T's, because it cannot be something that we just need more money because we didn't plan it right, or we went into the project completely wrong and didn't think about it, in which case they need to come back to us and get their planning better on the next one. So it's very important. It does require more staff time on both our part and their part, but we believe that overall we're saving at least a year in construction escalation costs, so it's a good thing.
Very good. So you want to read the motion, please?
Yes. To approve a request from Frederick County Public Schools to 1, cancel the Valley Elementary roof project and transfer the $242,000 to the statewide reserved appropriation account for Frederick County Public Schools, and 2, increase the Thurmont Middle roof project state appropriation from $380,000 to $622,000, using $242,000 from Frederick County's statewide reserve appropriation account for this project.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Let's go to C.
The third amendment request comes from Kent County Public Schools, and the request is to amend their FY 2020 CIP by applying $42,740 from their prior year appropriation account to the FY 2020 renovation project at Rock Hall Elementary. This project is also in the FY 21 CIP with a slightly revised cost estimate with a state balance due of $120,260 and is recommended to be fully funded by May. If there aren't any questions, I'll read the motion.
All right.
To approve an amendment to the FY 2020 CIP from Kent County Public Schools to transfer $42,740 from the statewide reserve appropriation account for Kent County to the FY 2020 CIP Rock Hall Elementary School renovation project.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to D.
The fourth and final request is from Queen Anne's County to amend their FY 2020 CIP project at Churchill Elementary. The fire safety project was partially funded in the FY 20 CIP, and the LEA would like to transfer $16,452 from their reserved appropriation account to the project, thus increasing the state allocation from $96,548 to $113,000 and fully funding the project. I can read the motion if there are any questions.
Go ahead and read the motion.
To approve an amendment to the FY 2020 CIP from Queen Anne's County Public Schools to transfer $16,452 from the statewide reserve appropriation account to the FY 2020 CIP Churchill Elementary School Fire Safety Project.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Shantia.
Thank you.
All right, if we could have Charles County come forward, please. Good morning.
Morning. Mike Heim, Assistant Superintendent Supporting Services from Charles County Public Schools. I have Steve Anders, who's our Director of Planning and Construction for Charles County Public Schools. And we're here on behalf of Dr. Hill today, so we appreciate this opportunity to be heard and bring some things to your attention regarding our appeal. At this point, Steve Anders will present some information.
Good morning. We've provided the written testimony, so I'm not going to go and read word for word, but several points we want to highlight. We do appreciate the cooperation and collaboration that we do get from all the state agencies, and we are working in our jurisdiction to do what we can to improve the age of the facilities that we have. We are in a range of about 35 years old as an average age of schools, and we are about a 28,000 student, just shy of 28,000 student school system. We did see an increase this year of about 413 students, so we are a growing county. This is our third year of growth, the second in 3 years of 400 plus students. So we are an actively growing county. We are looking to balance and have been working to balance our CIP to create opportunities for renovations of older buildings, but also to address the capacity needs that come with a growing county. We've been working with our local jurisdiction to do that through renovations that include space additions, but also programming for new schools. So we have a CIP that we've submitted this year that is for $32 million, totaling 10 construction projects and 3 planning projects. Currently, we have been, the preliminary recommendations for 3 projects to get construction funding, and we're here to appeal the ones that are not approved. So if you flip in, you'll find out the page, the first appeal is for the first major renovation project, which is the Benjamin Stoddard Middle School project. This is a open space middle school that was opened in 1976. It's going to be fully modernized. It gets a big addition. It is a phased while occupied renovation. The contract was approved by the IAC earlier this year, and the contractor is on board and actually ready to mobilize. We had to do some temporary work with parking adjustments because the staff parking lot is where the new addition goes. That temporary parking is being finished, and the contractor will be mobilizing here at the end of the month. So we're actually getting started on that. We got funding from the state last year. We asked for a second payment this year. We're being recommended for about a little over $6 million. Our request was 8.1, so we're here to appeal that additional $2 million in construction funding. The next project, if you flip in, is appeal number 2. That is Eva Turner Elementary School. This is also a renovation modernization project. We have these students moved away from the building. They're at a temporary facility, so we're able to go through and do the full renovation in a more controlled environment. We don't have to worry about the student impacts. This was also a open space project. It was built in 1979, and it will receive a full expansion. The contractor was on board, and the IAC approved the contracts in the summer for this job. We started and we did asbestos removal there. We finished that a little ahead of schedule and got the contractor going. We got approval from the state last year to start the project with construction funds, but we only received $843,000 last year. So we asked for the balance of funds this year. It was $9.9 million. And the recommendation as of right now is about 1.2. So we're here to appeal that balance of $8.6 million. We did provide in the CIP submission a construction draw schedule that shows through the end of this year, we're anticipating to be paying out to the contractor about $8.4 million. And as of today, we've issued 4 payments to the general contractor, not the asbestos contractor, but the general contractor, just about $1 million. So we are looking for additional support from the state to come closer to that and to ask for the appeal at the 8.6 as mentioned. And we do appreciate the continued support that we've received from the state and the county for both of these renovation projects. Next one is appeal number 3, which is the John Hanson Middle School roof replacement. This building is from 1972. It had a re-roof in 1995, and we are experiencing some issues with the roof system that's there. This is the 3rd year that we've asked for funding on this project, and we really do need to get started with this project to correct the issues. We have designed, it is nearly finished. We anticipate that the submissions for that will come in January. And the local CIP was approved, the local construction dollars were actually approved in FY19. So the local has put up their share to match some time ago. So we're ready to move forward with this project, and we're here to appeal the construction value at $1,794,000. Appeal number 4 is Maurice J. Mcdonough High School Performing Arts and Security Enhancements. This is also an open space school. It's a high school that was opened in 1977. We're looking to renovate to address a number of issues that have to do with safety and security and circulation, but we're also looking to bring in performing arts programs, the first of which actually will start at the school this coming school year. They're going to be in an old weight room temporarily to start the program, but we're actually implementing that program this year ahead of this project moving forward. This project also looks to address the security issues. Currently, when you enter the building, you enter through a side door and you come into a lobby and you're not directed into the office. This was the site of our summer visit for the CIP discussions. Mr. Gorell and other folks were there and saw those issues that we have there. We're going to actually move the front office to the front of the building where it needs to be. We're going to create a secure entry there so that you're forced into the office, but we also have classroom spaces that will be displaced when those things happen. So part of that performing arts component that happens with the addition around the auditorium moves those band and chorus classrooms into that space. So we are looking to get support for this project. We've worked with the county about phasing that works with funding so that the dollar value of the request was actually revised with our submission with the revision in late November. So the actual value that we're looking for from the state is $4,555,000. And the county did support send a letter of support for this project and for that value, and they are prepared to match their share. We've been working through the design phase and actually anticipate that our combined DD/CD submission documents are coming to GGS. We thought they were coming today. There's been a little back and forth with some things they were looking for yesterday, so they may not be in until tomorrow. But this project is moving forward, and we're looking to ask for that appeal.
And this project would also add an elevator to the school, which the school currently lacks. It has a ramp which leads from the first floor to the second floor. And as Mr. Andrews was saying, with our intent of having the dance program for the time being down in the basement of the building, the ramp doesn't go down. So anyone in terms of wheelchair accessibility has to go to the exterior of the building to get down to that basement section of the building. So we would take care of some ADA issues with adding an elevator to the school.
Just a point of clarity, the school is ADA compliant as per the building code that was in place when it was built, but it is definitely not to the standards that you'd expect to see today. Appeal number 5 is Westlake High School roof replacement. This was a new construction in 1992, so it's the original roof on the building. It's definitely at the end of its life expectancy. We have certain areas that have problems. We've been working through with a design consultant. We had a meeting with them actually last week about that, and we anticipate that the design documents will be coming to DGS for review on that in January of this year. We're appealing the construction funding for this in the value of $1,981,000. Appeal number 6 is Indian Hill Elementary School boiler replacement, 1976 elementary school, open space school, original boilers. They need to be replaced. We recently had the Washington Gas Company extend gas all the way down through to the Indian Head Naval Base. This school actually sits right at the gates to the base. So we are looking to upgrade the system to get onto a modern, more reliable system, and we want to move forward with that. The appeal here is for the construction value at $712,000. Appeal number 7 is for a full-day kindergarten addition at J.P. Ryan Elementary School. School was built in 1969, renovated in 2001. However, it did not have full-day kindergarten classrooms accommodated at that time. So we put in portables to address that. We've gone through, we're nearing the end of the cycle of projects that were dealing with the full-day kindergarten and permanent spaces. Currently, they have 91 students in kindergarten, and they have 55 students in pre-K. This is a school that is Title I, so it has full-day pre-K already. So the ability to give them the additional spaces that they need are important. This design was already approved by the state, by the county, so we've been under design with an architect. We have the SDs that were submitted in August, and we anticipate the DD/CD submission for this full-day kindergarten as well as the next one coming in January of 2020. So our request for appeal here is for construction funding in the value of $2,272,000. Appeal number 8 is Malcolm Elementary School, full-day kindergarten, built in 1955, renovated in 1984. So obviously did not have full-day kindergarten classroom spaces. We're looking to provide those. They are 56 enrollment at kindergarten and 19 full-time equivalent pre-K, so 19 in the morning, 19 in the afternoon. The design was approved by the county in FY19. It is ongoing. SDs were approved in August. The DD/CDs submissions are coming in January of 2020. So the appeal here is for $2,595,000. And that concludes what our appeal is. The last page just references the approval, the tentative approvals that were issued to us so far for this year. So.
All right, thank you very much. Secretary Churchill?
Thank you. Just 2 questions. Back to Benjamin Stoddard and Eva Turner. Eva Turner, which has started June of this year? Okay. And your projected cash flow, you're coming up short. If no more money was available, how would you make up for the...
So we have worked with our county to move the project forward, and if there were a shortfall, the county would work to cover the difference. But what we're showing here is where we intend to be and where we project we will be based on what's going on there and what the actual needs will be. So the county obviously would like to see the state value as far as money coming in matching closer with what's actually needed.
All right. So that project was accelerated, and Benjamin Stoddard, which you note will be beginning late December. Is that still a
That's correct.
Statement?
Yes. Last year for Benjamin Stoddard, we got a significant amount from the state because we knew that the first component there was the big addition at the front, the new construction, which was going to cost more. So we had a $13 million request for Stoddard last year that was approved in full. So we are a little more comfortable with that we have that money ready to go for that component.
So you've submitted your cash flow.
There was a cash flow analysis for both of these projects in our CIP, yes.
And the difference between those 2 projects is Turner is an unoccupied renovation, so we have a swing space, so we are able to relocate that school and the students and staff for the next 2 years. Stoddard will be an occupied renovation, so you see a longer period of time for that, and then the intricacies of dealing with an occupied renovation.
I was going to ask you to talk about that swing school, since I got to visit that, not this past year, but the year before. I think it's just really a unique way to deal with renovations. So you want to just talk to the IAC about that?
Sure. So that structure, we call it our transition school, but it was built in the late 90s. It's a modular complex of about 25 classrooms, which are with a common hallway. It's 2 wings, it's a U-shaped building. But it was built back in the late 90s for the renovation, which we referenced one of our, hopefully our kindergarten additions at J.P. Ryan, but we did an unoccupied renovation of Ryan, so we were able to move the students from Ryan during that time that Ryan was renovated. After Ryan moved out, we used that as our lifelong learning center for a number of years until it had, unfortunately, had a fire in 2014. We had the fire. We lost half of that. Lightning strike. We lost half of that structure. We were able to rebuild that, and since the time it's been rebuilt, we've been using that for renovation. So Mudd Elementary School, which we just completed that 2-year renovation, and staff and students moved back there in the fall. We're at the transition for school for 2 years, and we had the fortunate now to move Turner in there for 2 years. And our plan is to move Brown Elementary School in there after Turner moves out and do a open space enclosure of that facility. So it's a great opportunity for us to kind of expedite renovations and vacate a building for those schools that are in close proximity to it to use that space to our advantage.
Yeah, it's just an elegant solution. And what I was so amazed about is the turnaround of one school and their colors and their all the things that needed to be done was then changed to the next school. And so parents felt I understood, parents felt very comfortable having their students there, and it was a very engaging environment. So it's a great solution.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I do have one
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry, Brian.
I think we've heard testimony where a lot of these folks are coming in looking for the roof replacements that are 40, 50 some years old. And they have 2 requests that are in the 20-year roof. So I was just wondering why, and is it a different construction? Do we pay to buy a cheaper roof to begin with?
No, both of these roofs are your typical 4-ply built-up roof. The issue usually becomes that from the facility side, they're warranted for 20 years. So after 20 years, you start looking at your replacement schedule, and you start programming how you replace them. The issue for us is, we have to get the county to agree to give us design funds so we can start the process, and then we have to start requesting funds from the county for their local share and the state share. We are looking to do that as soon as we end the 20-year warranty period, but with the reality that it's not going to happen right away. It's probably more like 25 years, and the roofs will last that long. These roofs, excuse me, have some issues where you've got moisture intrusion or flashing issues. Are they in imminent failure right now? No, but are they in need of replacement? Yes.
Yeah, I was under the impression that these 4-ply roofs were 40-year roofs.
If I could, at one time, they were lasting 40 years. Asbestos, which was a really great binder to bridge the felts that we use, and the felts themselves had asbestos in them. It was a heck of a great building material, but we stopped using it. And so the new 4-ply roofs, their expected life is about 40. There's about 20. And then actually it's about 15. And then the manufacturer kind of goes on the hook to get that 20-year, and we pay for that. There was one county that bought their roofs without that additional budge, that insurance policy. We can get even a 40-year roof on current 4-ply roofs, but you pay for it as far as warranty. And what happens on roofs, if I could, Madam Chair,
Certainly.
It's a really important question because it's a balance in facility management between replacing an asset, and roofs are a good example, that if you replace it, as they get older, their maintenance costs begin to go up. You get past 15 years for 4-ply, the maintenance cost begins to go up, so you try to balance off what is that investment to replace it against what I can get out of that roof. Once they get past that expected life, your risk goes up, and the cost of maintenance to keep that roof working can sometimes end up being, if you go 40 years and you're patching a roof for the last 20, you can end up paying as much as 5 times over that total period what you would have paid to have replaced 2 roofs at 20 years. So it's a calculus that we do. If you can save maintenance by replacing your assets, your building systems when they should be replaced. That's a call locally. You know, can this last longer? And that's what it's very important to be able to look at that, to understand it, and make the call at the right time. The longer you can make, of course, any building system lasts, overall the total cost of ownership goes down, and that's from a facility standpoint, that's what you want to be able to manage to do.
Can I add 2 points?
Yes.
2 points about the roofs, though. We go through and inspect all of our roofs twice a year. So we always are looking what's going on. The building staff, the building services staff who are on site are required to every month or so check them, especially this time of year when the leaves come and they're all falling, to go and double check the drains are clear, the things that can cause damage issues. So you're looking at those. The other thing that we're always talking to our consultants about is when you start looking at these roof projects, we want to know right away if you see an issue that looks like it could become a lot worse in a very short period of time, because we want to address that to keep this at the certain level that it's at instead of letting it degrade a whole lot faster. So that's a conversation that we have with our consultants whenever they're working on roof projects. The last point I would like to add is the issue about roofs also gets amplified based on what your interior conditions are. And what I mean, what I mean by that is a school that has drywall interior as opposed to a masonry wall interior, if you have leaks on that roof and you get damage inside, it's much worse with drywall interiors than it is with masonry block. So as schools change and those flexibilities change and newer buildings are built with more drywall, the leak issues become that much more important.
Thank you very much.
Not just damage, but mold.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to not bring up that four-letter word.
I was going to say, we don't say that four-letter word.
Right.
It's not one of the things that we are allowed to say. All right, so anyway, thank you very much, Charles County, and appreciate you being here today.
Yep. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Welcome. Now I'd like to invite Howard County, Dr. Martirano and his team. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to do Kent first. Somebody reversed my schedule for me, Dr. Martirano. I apologize.
That's why I asked.
Hi, Dr. Lever. How are you?
Well, thank you.
So Kent County is on the phone, so would you please begin, Kent County? Dr. Couch, can you, well, hold on, we want to make sure that you can be heard.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, Dr. Couch.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Salmon, Mr. Goral, members of the IAC. On the call today are myself, Dr. Karen Couch, and I'm the superintendent. I also have Mr. Craig Kirby, who is our consultant management accountant. And there in person is our facilities planner, Dr. David Lever. We'd like to begin by thanking you very much. We're very much in appreciation for the approval of the additional $120,260 for Rock Hall Elementary School. This will give us enough to carry out our base bid and our alternate one, which is our music and art classroom. So we thank you very much for your support of Kent County. We are here this morning in particular to appeal the amount that was recommended for the Galena Elementary School renovation project. As we noted in our letter on November the 18th, we had a detailed examination of our building systems, and there are going to be additional upgrades that we're going to have to include in with the project, which will increase our costs for the project itself. We're going to need a fire pump, backflow preventer, and we're also going to have to upgrade our fire alarm system controls. We believe that the funding requested in our submission of November the 18th is really the smallest amount that we're going to need to sustain this project, which is a difference of $825,010. We are here to appeal that, and we would like to receive the remaining amount of $825,010. It will have a material effect on our ability to complete this project.
So I don't know if Dr. Lieber, you would like to add anything else to that, or we could stand for questions, whatever you would like at this point.
Well, Dr. Couch, I think that you covered it well. These are the kinds of things that happen in older buildings when you begin the actual architectural engineering study and the investigation, and you find that there are problems that go beyond the original scope that you thought that you were going to be able to cover with the budget. And that's why we've seen an increase in the requests for this project compared to the planning request last year, but also the design has been proceeding very fast, and these issues have come to our attention even between the first submission in October to the IAC and the November 27th resubmission date. So we think that we can cover the scope, and out of this, the critical issue of renovating the kitchen and renovating the cafeteria and expanding both to handle the increase of capacity, or of enrollment rather, that resulted from the closure of 2 schools in the 2017 school year. The enrollment at this school just about doubled, and that has created a number of issues in terms of the number of lunch periods, the circulation, and that's what this addition renovation project will address, along with the building improvements, the building system improvements.
Thank you. Dr. Couch, didn't we visit Galena earlier this year?
Yes, I know we've had several individuals that have visited from the IAC, but yes, ma'am, you did.
That's what I
You
remember.
did visit our school, and I was able to show you
these
some of the
things out.
projects that we had in mind for the school.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Any other questions for Kent County?
Madam Chair, if I could, we did go out as an IAC team to look at that school, and that school kind of, this one story paints a picture. As we're going around looking at spaces, there was a storeroom off of the current cafeteria, and we had all of the principals within Kent County walking around with us. And I turned around and saw them eyeing inside of this room, and I said, "What are you looking at?" And when they were thinking, this could be a great breakout room that we need in order to be able to provide the type of services that we have to have now, and they were short on space. So to me, it paints a picture of what teachers will do just to make do, to provide what they have to do within the existing facilities. And there's lots of compromise, and I already said earlier that we've got a lot more that it seems that we need, that we'll have to determine that, then we have funding that we are providing for these. It's a tough thing.
This has been an exercise, frankly, in stretching the budget as far as possible to get real value from the investment. But there's so much more that needs to be done at this school as well as at other schools in Kent County. So we have to be very strategic in terms of where the funding is actually placed to get the best value out of the improvements.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Kent County, and appreciate your presentation. Thank you, Dr. Lieber. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
And then we will have Dr. Martirano and Howard County, the team, to come up to present. Good to see you, Dr. Martirano.
Great to see you as well. Senator Casemar, great to see you as well, sir.
Thank you.
Good. Good morning, Dr. Salmon, Mr. Grell, members of the IAC, designees, and staff. I'm Michael Martirano, the Superintendent of the Howard County Public School System. Thank you for inviting us to present the unique challenges faced by our school system and discuss projects for the FY 2021 Capital Improvement Program, better known for us as our CIP. I'm joined today by Mr. Scott Washington, Acting Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Daniel Lubley, Acting Director of Capital Planning and Construction. In the audience, I have Ms. Vicki Catronio, one of our Board of Education members, and Dr. Chow Wu, one of our Board of Education members as well. And as you can also see behind me, many dedicated parents who are interested in a number of things of which I have to say to the IAC today. First of all, I want to thank you for your initial allocation of $23.5 million in state funding, which represents approximately 53% of the total $44 million requested. We would like to make you aware of some of the local concerns as you continue to review the FY 2021 state capital improvement requests. Howard County, as you may know, is the fastest growing county in the state of Maryland and must meet the capital needs of a rapidly growing student population. We expect an increased enrollment of approximately 750 new students in FY 2021. Over the past 5 years, Our enrollment has increased by approximately 1,000 students annually. Just think about that momentarily and the impact that that has. To accommodate this growth, our 10-year long-range master plan includes 1 replacement and 3 new elementary schools, 3 middle school renovation projects, 2 new high schools, and 2 high school renovation addition projects. Also, I think it's important for this body to understand that recently our system completed a comprehensive redistricting process to balance capacity utilization, taking advantage of where we had our seats and to fill those seats among our existing schools, and to advance equity by addressing the distribution of students affected by poverty as measured by the participation in the free and reduced meals program. When this plan goes into effect, next year we will be moving approximately 5,400 students will move to new schools, and 51 of our 77 schools will be within the targeted utilization of 90 to 110% capacity, and up from 42 which are currently in that range. At the same time, we will reduce our highest proportion of farms participation of any school from a high of what it currently is at 68, now down to 52%, and bring 33 schools closer to the county averages. Our capital planning balances the need to provide additional classroom seats, especially in the fastest growing areas in our county, while we maintain our older schools to ensure safety and efficiency and accommodate new instructional priorities and the needs of changing student populations. Our FY 2021 capital improvement program requests include capital investments include the new High School 13 in the southeastern portion of our county, a replacement for Talbot Springs Elementary School, and a renovation, a much-needed renovation and addition at Hammond High School. We ask that you consider the status of the following projects. 1, the new High School 13, LEA priority number 1, our number 1 priority. We thank you for recommending $23.5 million in funding for the new school project, and we ask that you consider funding the remaining $4.5 million requested. The new school will provide approximately 1,660 seats and is urgently needed to relieve the overcrowding in the Eastern County region and balance capacity utilization throughout the system. The building design and construction are intended to achieve LEED Silver certification. The site has been purchased, the construction documents are currently in review, and the Department of General Services and attendance area adjustments are underway with project completion targeted for fall of 2023. Next, Talbot Springs Elementary School is a replacement. That's our LEA priority number 2. The project currently has a B status. We request it receive an A status and be fully funded. The new building will replace an aging elementary school with a new modern energy efficiency facility, which will be less costly to construct and maintain over the life of the building in comparison to a school renovation and addition. When completed, the school will add approximately 160 seats and provide facilities to accommodate many essential resources and services to support students and families in one of Howard County's most disadvantaged communities. It will support access by our most vulnerable students for nutrition, clothing, language supports, and social services that are essential prerequisites to learning and achievement. Next, Hammond High School renovation and replacement, our next priority. The project currently has a B status. We requested to receive an A status and be fully funded. The project will renovate an existing aging facility and expand educational program spaces, including 6 additional classroom spaces, provide approximately 200 new seats, and add the COMAR-compliant health suite. Systemic upgrades will emphasize energy efficiency as well. Our last area is Hammond Middle School boiler. That's our next priority. This project currently has a B status, and we request it receives an A status and be fully funded. The project will replace an existing 1987 boiler plant system with a new highly efficient system. State support of these projects is essential to enable our system to complete construction and maintenance that are critical in addressing our enrollment growth needs while prolonging the life aging facilities. This support is essential to avoid further strain on an already strained budget. We appreciate the support and the cooperative relationship we've had with the public school construction program, and we will continue to work closely with the IAC to constructively resolve the challenging issues facing our school system today and in the future. Again, we thank you for the opportunity to share and discuss our concerns. We look forward to receiving your favorable support for funding for the FY 2021 CIP request, and express my great appreciation and acknowledge the challenges of which we have in a very robust growing school system in Howard County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Martirano. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Denise.
As far as the new high school number 13, can you help me understand, are you following LEED certification with the U.S. Green Building Council? Are you actually going to go through that process to get the certification, or are you just following the guidelines?
We're actually, Scott Washington, acting Chief Operating Officer. We're actually going through the USGBC. We actually will have the official LEED certification for that building.
And is that something that, moving forward, Howard County is looking to do for all your schools?
We have basically been doing that for the majority of my schools since 2010. If anytime we have a brand new school, of course, by state regulation, but also for our systemic renovations, we've done it as well. If I'm not mistaken, we have 12 or 13 schools at this time, 1 platinum, 3 gold, and about 9 silver.
Is there a delta of cost in doing that versus just following the guidelines, is my question.
Name 7.
Good morning, Dan Lubley, Acting Director of Capital Planning and Construction. When we do follow the LEED guidelines and go for achieving an actual certification, we are seeing approximately a 4 to 5% increase, specifically with regards to LEED, versus if we follow the guidelines but did not get registered, we are seeing approximately a 4 to 5% construction cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Churchill.
Thank you. I'll also note, just for public consumption, that due to
HB 1783.
Legislation from this last year, that General Services did come out with new guidelines for LEAs to consider, which may or may not consider LEED certification. So you do have that option there to consider.
Correct, and we are exploring those guidelines as well. As we continue with our designs right now, we're trying to weigh our options between, actually, I do believe it was the 3 that we were given to kind of look to see which was the best and most efficient use of our dollars.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you being
Thank
here
you.
today.
Great seeing all of you.
Good to see you too. All right. Now we have Baltimore City. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you all.
So I'm Lynette Washington. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Baltimore City Public Schools.
Nicole Stewart, the Director of Facilities Planning.
And Cindy Smith, the Director of Facilities Design and Construction.
Great. So I'm going to start off by saying good morning, Dr. Salmon, IAC Commission members and designees, and Mr. Gorell. I want to thank you all on behalf of Baltimore City Public Schools Board of Commissioners and the CEO for the opportunity to address the members of the IAC about Baltimore City's public schools fiscal year 2021 capital improvement priorities. We are here to appeal the IAC designee's 75% FY 2021 CIP recommendations for city schools. City schools requested approximately $101 million in state funds for 36 projects in FY 2021 CIP. The requests included funding for 2 major renovation addition projects, which is Armistead Gardens Elementary Middle and Marie G. Faring Elementary Middle. Both schools are currently undercrowded with utilization rates over 200%. Marie G. Faring's Elementary Middle School project includes the renovation of an adjacent site purchased to address overcrowding. The FY 2021 CIP also includes 34 systemic projects that consist of much-needed repairs to various building systems. As in most years, this request only begins to address Baltimore City's true facility needs of what is necessary to effectively preserve our existing portfolio and to accommodate the maintenance of newly renovated 21st century buildings. We thank the IAC for the $23.6 million recommended for city schools for fiscal year 2021. And we're continuing to work with our staff to ensure that all contingency funds are redirected to the priority projects identified in the FY 2020 CIP. I would like to take time to just start talking a little bit about some of our accomplishments before I jump into our appeals. So as we appeal projects for City School CIP, I would like to take time to mention some of the positive changes that we've experienced over the last years and the district level plans that may impact our CIP request. Baltimore City submitted its comprehensive maintenance plan in October, and several things were evident. The need for facilities is still great. We have approximately 17 million square feet of facility space in 153 buildings. The cost to appropriately address the aging building stock is approximately $200 million per year. This cost was calculated using the current replacement value of 4% of about $5 billion. The 4% includes upgrades to the existing facilities, reductions in the backlog of deferred maintenance, and altering some of our existing facilities to address educational adequacy. Our current replacement need for existing building systems and components is $333 million to address items that are beyond their expected life cycle. While we celebrate the opening of our 21st century schools, just this fall we had an elementary school and a high school that had a ribbon cutting, and we have 3 more schools that are coming online in the winter time. I must still say that we have to advocate for the other 80% of the portfolio that do not have identified funding, such as 21st century programs for replacement or renovations. We continue to move forward with our 5-year air conditioning plan. We currently are in year 3 of the plan, with approximately 24 additional schools that now have air conditioning. Air conditioning in these schools were achieved through a variety of methods. The 21st Century Buildings Initiative, vertical package unit projects, and the full HVAC systems. We did receive some financial support from some of our external partners, such as the Ravens, where they added some support for some of vertical package units. And I think that was for Lakewood Elementary School.
And Thomas Jefferson.
And Thomas Jefferson, thank you. Approximately 51 non-AC schools are remaining on the plan to be addressed within the next 2 years. Our maintenance scores have increased. Since 2014 to 2019, there's been a growth in the number of buildings rated as superior or good, and a decrease in the number of buildings rated as not adequate or poor. This positive trend does not include any inspections of our new 21st century buildings, but we believe it's a testament of the work that we have accomplished in preventative maintenance processes and also systemic replacements. In terms of utilization, for our buildings, we are on track with meeting our district-wide utilization, which is a requirement of the 21st century program. City Schools school year 2019-20 projected utilization rate without swing space is at 87%, and the target related to the program is 86%. So we're achieving that as the board continues to close aging schools and underutilized facilities, while our enrollment for the last year has remained relatively flat. Finally, we're moving forward with a recommendation to support high schools if funds are available under the Build to Learn Act or other bills that may be introduced during the Maryland General Assembly session. The district is in partnership with the Maryland Stadium Authority as we're in the process of developing site-specific educational specifications to conduct feasibility studies on 5 high school buildings that will hold 8 high school programs, and those are provided in the talking points. We are flagging that some of the schools that are provided, of those 5 schools, some of these projects had requests within this year's CIP. And they have been recipients of the state funds related to the vertical package unit construction and installation. The decisions that were made were based on the knowledge. We did not have the knowledge of any additional potential funding. And so these were different construction needs that were needed within our high schools. It must be noted that if funding increases are not approved by the legislation, these systemic projects will remain a priority for the district. If the legislation does pass funding for additional public school construction dollars, the new vertical package units will be reinstalled at other locations where AC is needed. We do believe that the high school plan will impact students across the district, and takes into consideration enrollment changes, student access, facility conditions, school quality, and programming to promote efficient utilization of facilities within the district's portfolio. As I talk a little bit about the appeals, I will say that with so much happening in the district, we still want to advocate for state support towards improving our facilities for our students. Per the 75% staff recommendations, the requests for both major projects were not recommended for approval. City Schools understands this status. City Schools is in the past has not moved forward with projects without state funds allocated for those projects as it relates to design. State funding is usually a guarantee to us that the project will be supported. So we understand that the state did not approve these projects due to the requirement of the design of the projects prior to approval. And City Schools will comply after discussions with our finance department. The decision to fund a design prior to having funding allocations puts the district at a risk that the design, which is used based off of our limited local funds to support the projects, may not be approved by the state. As major renovation projects require lengthy design phases, we will proceed with completing these designs. However, we just want to note to the Commission that this practice is not something that we can apply to all CIP projects, as we are only working with $19 million in local funds. City Schools does not have the adequate local dollars to support pre-design of all projects and must rely on estimates to move projects forward. We've had conversations with some of our other rural school system, local LEAs, our counterparts, and they also struggle to fund some of their designs. And there have been discussions with a request going to the state to consider some funding to help support some of the design and soft cost constructions. We are appreciative of the change in the IAC guidance that allows for funds in an LEA contingency account to be reallocated due to a project's actual cost that is above the cost estimate. I think that this is something that has truly helped the school system as we get projects that they may be above the estimate when the actual bids come in. Being able to have that resource and flexibility has helped us significantly, so we're very much appreciative of it. We believe this change in guidance allows us to adjust in areas where market conditions and unforeseen changes in construction processes have led to overages. So I would say that we would like to seek full funding for B projects and request further discussion of C and D status projects, as these projects are important to providing adequate physical facility spaces for our students. In addition to our appeal, we are requesting a follow-up discussion related to the FY 2021 CIP, a request for the Furley building, which was had not received recommendation for approval. We understand this is a very complex request and that several parties may be impacted by the proposed changes. So as there are many factors to consider in the recommendation for the future building, use of the building. And in closing, City Schools, again, would like to thank you for your continued support in addressing the facility needs for Baltimore City Public Schools. We are consistently in need of support as our funding is limited, but the need is actually great. We ask that the IAC consider the challenges associated with operating a district with aging facilities and funding constraints that our jurisdiction presents, and that we are fully funded for our FY 2021 CIP projects. So on behalf of the schools, the students, and the communities, I want to say thank you for your time and consideration.
Questions? Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. So I want to make note that we have received written testimony from Somerset County, Washington County, and Wicomico County. And this and any other written testimony that we get will be entered into the written record. And the IAC members have copies of this information. So I just want to close up this appeal window by saying that the IAC and the staff will be reviewing the information we've received from the counties. And we will look at that in terms of the additional percentage that is yet to be applied, which will be in May. If additional funds become available, that will also be something that the staff can look at in whatever the requests were for today. So that's the process, and now we're going, I'm sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
Madam Chair, and if I could say, and I just want to make sure that it's very clear for everybody, that the purpose of revealing what the 100% recommendations look like right now, based upon the estimates of the budget that we have, I hope give all of the counties plenty of confidence to start moving forward on those projects. The faster those projects move, the quicker we help the students and staff, the more we cut off and avoid the cost of inflation.
Right, excellent point. So I'm now going to ask Arabia to go through the 75% recommendations for the CIP, which is in section 3 of your books. Arabia.
As we all are aware, local schools, construction facility needs are greater than the available state funding across the state. Facilities continue to age and building systems continue to require maintenance. In lieu of reading from the agenda item, I would like to take an opportunity to address some of the challenges and potential remedies that were identified during the CIP allocation process. The 10-year average is the starting point for the CIP allocation process, and funding levels per school districts fluctuate based on the type of projects received. If a county only requests funding for small projects and do not submit any requests in 2 or 3 previous CIP cycles, the result is a lower average. The question then becomes, as the stewards of state funding, what is the fairest method to allocate the dollars? On the other hand, there are jurisdictions that have new or replacement school projects and require funding that exceeds the average baseline. An example, Caroline and Carroll counties. Staff work with the LEAs to determine the least amount of state funding that could be provided without delaying the project from moving forward. With limited options, the IAC staff is forced to shave dollars from other school districts, mainly by focusing on reducing allocations from other major construction projects. Then there are cost estimates for systemic renovation projects that come in higher than the LEA expected due to increased cost and materials. The absence of a statewide public facilities assessment limits the state's ability to address the highest facility needs based on concrete data. The potential remedies could be the funding of the revolving loan program could potentially alleviate the need to reduce CIP allocations. Jurisdictions could apply for dollars that could be paid back, and grants could be allocated to LEAs that have shown evidence that they are unable to assist with replenishing the fund. The Assessment and Funding Work Group will be examining a potential formulaic approach to allocate dollars. Roughly around 2% of the preliminary capital budget has been reserved for IAC project adjustments to address unexpected cost increases, which could be seed money that rolls over from year to year. To meet an LEA's needs and to do our due diligence, in the future, the IAC could possibly require an LEA's bond counsel to re-examine their local capacity to forward fund the state share of a large project. If we could please turn to page 43, the summary of project requests and recommendations. So columns A through C identify the LEA, reserved funds for DGS, and project adjustments, the number of projects requested, and the total funding being requested. Column D identifies the staff's recommendations for the 75% approvals based on a preliminary capital budget of $280 million. Columns E through J are the projected recommendations. Our focus will be on column D, which indicates the amount of total funding being recommended for allocation today for your consideration. Some important takeaways are that 3 LEAs have submitted requests below their average: Allegheny, Calvert, and Somerset. To reduce the impact of increasing allocations for Caroline and Carroll, project budgets for a total of 14 LEAs and the Maryland School for the Blind were reduced. Baltimore County this year did not qualify for the Enrollment Growth and Relocatable Classroom program. because their enrollments in relocatable classrooms were below the statewide average. While staff generally does not recommend planning approvals without a funding request in the first round, Calvert County's Board of Commissioners submitted a written request for early planning approval for Beach Elementary School. So that planning approval is a part of the recommendation. Caroline and Frederick counties, for the first time, are eligible for the Enrollment Growth and Relocatable Classroom Program. While we were able to increase the budget for the CTE school in Carroll County, staff were not able to recommend the allocation of funding for that needed systemic renovation projects. There are 2 corrections that were made to the modeling spreadsheet. Hickory Elementary School in Harford County and Waverly Elementary School in Frederick County's total estimated budgets were not correct. We fixed that error and it's currently in the updated version. Kent and Gert's averages were well below their actual request. However, additional funding is being recommended, as you can see, in May. Howard County does continue to experience capacity concerns. They've submitted 3 major construction projects with a combined estimated total of $398 million, as well as 1 systemic renovation project. Prince George's County has 5 planning approvals in their current submission, which were deferred pending feasibility study and in some cases, lack of design progress. I wanted to go back to the HVAC project that they have in their CIP that wasn't funded. This project was their lowest priority. So we like to go in their priority order. So if they have 10 projects and that HVAC is the last one, it's pretty difficult to get down to that project and get it funded. Somerset County is working on to determine a construction method that resolves concerns regarding the isolated and needed school facility. We will continue to work with Somerset County to help them plan this properly, and we hope to come with a recommendation later in the year. The IAC received approval, IAC recently approved the rescission and transfer of funding for HVAC projects in Baltimore City. One was at Harlem Park and the other one was at Franklin Square. Since the budget for those projects were modified and they are currently in this year's CIP, staff are recommending that the IAC approve the use of prior year appropriations to fund those projects, which could potentially free up some dollars for other projects around the state. I would like to take an opportunity to request that the motion be slightly amended to give staff the ability to make funding adjustments to worksheets, to the project budgets as needed to ensure that we don't underfund nor overfund any projects. Unless you would like to review specific projects, I'll stand for questions.
All right, we have questions about any of the allocations for Arabia? Hearing no questions, you may read the motion, the amended motion.
To approve the fiscal year 2021 75% capital improvement program allocations and planning approvals for each school system and the Maryland School for the Blind, as shown in the attached summary of project requests and recommendations, and to authorize staff to adjust project budgets as needed.
All right, do we have a motion to approve? Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any abstentions? I think we got unanimous approval. All right, very good. Thank you, Arabia. This has been a huge, huge effort on the part of our staff and you, and we thank you for the great job you did on it.
Thank you.
All right, so, are we done?
Madam Chair, let me just double check. Yes, Madam Chair, that completes the agenda for today.
So, I would like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. All right, aye. We are
Aye.
done. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Jones.